absolutely wonderful, guys. So thank you very, very much for providing that entertainment for us. Really, really. Exactly. So, I'm just going to ask a couple of questions just to get the ball rolling, and then this is a free, open question and answer session. Feel free to ask the guys anything you would like about the show, the company, anything you'd like at all. So I'm going to get the ball rolling. So I'm going to start with asking, why this show? Why did you pick this show to do?
Why this show? Okay, well, I probably should say I'm the artistic director of Con Artists, which is the company that's associated with this theatre, which Amanda, bless her, is kindly supporting, and we're all made up of local artists, which is really good. Why this play? I sort of, over Christmas, watched Finding Neverland with Johnny Depp and Kate Winslet, and I'd seen it before, but I sort of got into Barry again through watching that film. I thought, yeah, I'd like to read some of your plays and some of your stories, and so I did. But the problem is with the plays, when I was thinking, oh, let's produce one of his plays, there's too many parts. You know, unfortunately, the sad reality these days, you just, you know, for our scale theatre company, you can't do a show with about 16 to 20 people in. So I thought, oh no, thwarted. But then, you know, discovered this piece that had been adapted by John Peelmeyer, who's actually an American writer. He's better known as a screenwriter, actually, but this was one of his early sort of stage plays that he wrote for himself to do in tribute to Barry. And all of the script is Barry's own words. So what John Peelmeyer has done is just taken sections from letters, from stories, and bits from the original Speech of Courage, but it's much more of an edited work of his writings that sort of give this story of his life, which when I read it first time, it sort of brought a lump to my throat, and I thought, oh yeah, I like this, you know. So we thought we'd do it, and having sworn never to do another one-man show again after the importance of being Oscar, the rest of the creative team sort of talked me into doing it.
Brilliant, excellent stuff. And then next question for yourself, Mitch. As a director coming in, you'd done The Importance of Being Oscar prior. For Courage, did you have to take a different approach with it? What did you learn from doing The Importance of Being Oscar?
Just get a whip and chain to him to make sure. No, it's just looking at timescales and saying, you know, where we need to be. Ross is really easy to direct. You know, he's a brilliant actor, so you don't really have to do much, just checking things to make sure he's remembering things, suggestions, so we really work together. It's not like when you work on a bigger project that you're having to really manage everybody. Ross is really clever boy, clever man. So as you can see, he's got brilliant timing, he's got a lovely voice, he's a proper old school actor, so I mean that in the nicest sense. So he's easy to direct. We work really well together, and we just find different things at every rehearsal. So yeah.
Cracking. And just for anyone here who might not know, Ross, can you tell us a bit more about Con Artists, just as an organisation?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of you know this story. Some of my friends are here. When Amanda first came to take over from Peter Bailey when he retired, I sort of thought, oh, there's an opportunity here. I'll go and approach her and say, would she be interested, you know, in helping us? And the help is sort of in-kind support, you know, so like free rehearsal space, theatre and marketing and such. And so she said, yeah, it'd be great to have an in-house company here again, but it's obviously going to take a while to grow and build up. And obviously what we want to do is go on tour. You know, we don't just want to be doing a couple of nights here. We want to get out on the road and take it further afield. But I sort of then approached you, actually. You're one of the founder members, but now you've sort of gone full-time as a Friends Officer in Marketing. And Laura Kimber, who also works at the theatres here. She's worked in the box office and front of house, but she actually trained as a designer at Northbrook College. So we thought, we've got all this talent here we're not using. And again, Matthew Pike, the other founding member, who's production manager and did the lighting design tonight, he's now one of the senior technicians here. I said, you know, are you interested in coming together and trying to do some interesting work that, you know, will keep theatre going in this town, you know, because I think you've got to fight for it to keep it going. And so you all said yes at the time.
We did.
And so we kicked off with Vintage Hitchcock, which I don't know, some of you may have seen, which was November 2013, sort of a live radio play in the main house. That was followed by Oscar for the WOW Festival, which Melody Bridges was behind, and again Amanda supported that, and that sort of ran for a week in June 2014, and there was lots of really interesting, exciting stuff going on during that literary festival. Then we came back and did The Good Doctor last October, and then we've done Courage now. So, but the transition for us now is to get out on the road and start touring properly. So, but you know, it takes a while to get going, especially when you're not funded, because we only had funding so far for The Good Doctor. That was Arts Council funded, and oddly, that was the first ever Arts Council bid I wrote, and it came in. But I wrote one for this, and we didn't get it. So, you know, for various reasons, but there you go. So we've just got to keep going and try and build up the support for the company and what we're trying to do.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I'm now going to pass on to the floor. So does anyone have any questions that they would like to ask of our two gentlemen sat before us?
Not all at once, don't
No,
rush us.
don't rush us. Quite all right.
It was the psychology of Barry. What was it all about? Because to a modern audience, this befriending of boys rings alarm bells.
I know.
That is the modern take, isn't it? I mean, and this strange marriage that obviously came.
Yeah, the loveless marriage, yeah. Well, I think, you know, it's a different time, of course, you know, to now, and I think it's unfair to, I'm not saying that you're labelling him a paedophile or anything, but it is the sort of way that we unfortunately tend to look at it now. But actually, if you look at some of the research that I've looked at, Nico, which was the youngest of the sons that lived until about 1980 or something, 82, said that there was never any of that at all. He was just a darling man. But he was incredibly lonely, I think. You know, a very lonely man. He was the sort of, I think, possibly the last of the children that his mother and father had. And so, a bit of a runt, you know, he was only about 5'3" or something. So the genes in that respect, you know, were not great. There was a suggestion as well that he may have been impotent, which may have caused problems with the marriage as well. But he had certainly inherited a sort of genius and creativity of mind, which children tend to have. So he was, I think, you know, utilising that childish quality of imagination and creation and trying to retain it and sort of reliving it again through his relationship with the Davies boys, which of course inspired his masterpiece, you know, Peter Pan. But what I find remarkable is how humble he is, you know, because all those words in the play were his words. He said, you know, that play belongs to the five, you know, the way he sort of has acknowledged the source of it, you know, but a complex man, certainly, but I think a very, very lonely man, and I think, so he was with his wife for 15 years, okay, it was a loveless marriage, but in a way she had kind of taken over maybe that void that his mother had left, you know, so that mother figure, and at least he was in a house with somebody, so there was a sense of living in a house with somebody, but once you were on your own, I think it must have been quite desolate, and so the boys, in a way, he may have, you know, to some extent got a little too kind of controlling with their lives, like when he sent Michael to Oxford, when really, you know, it would have been better to let him discover his artistic side and go to Paris and painting, but I suppose he also felt a responsibility because Sylvia and Arthur had passed away to sort of give them the best that he could, and he certainly didn't spare any expense. I mean, he gave them everything that they wanted, but yeah, quite a sad character, despite his... Well, he died in 1937, and that speech was sort of set in 1922, but I think by then, after having lost Michael and George, who were the two that he was closest to, without a shadow of a doubt, I think he was just like, you know, a living shell, and he'd stopped writing, you know, so, yeah, I don't know what he died of, but I mean, I know he always had a cough, so it may have been something to do with the chest. But
Is with the royalties of Peter Pan, wasn't there an arrangement made with Children's Hospital in London, isn't there?
Yeah.
With the
Great Ormond Stream.
yes, which still now, isn't there? Yes,
Yeah.
as I seem to remember, because when we produced it here back in whenever it was a while ago, I know that arrangement was still in place. So that's what goes on now, which is incredible. Obviously, it's connection with children and their health.
And it's lovely when you see a proper production of Peter Pan done, because sometimes, at Panto time, we see various theatres saying they're doing Peter Pan, and it's not Jay and Barry's Peter Pan, and you go and see it and go, oh my God.
Well, I have to say that here it did. Personally, I don't think it worked, because what they did is they tried to introduce panto elements into it, which is essentially a children's family story. And I think it sort of missed the mark a little bit on it. I know the feedback was a little bit sort of, the great fans of Peter Pan were a little disappointed that there was some outrageous characters which were more suitable for pantomime.
I saw it at the Guildford Yvonne Arnaud Theatre just before I graduated at Guildford School of Acting, and Peter Bowles was in it. It was fantastic as Captain Hook and Mr. Darling. And I can't remember who was playing Peter Pan, but it was still played by an actress, and she was fabulous. Izzy Van Ranwick, I think her name was. And that was really special. I thought, I'm quite privileged to see this, because it's such an expensive production to put on. It doesn't get done that much now. Whereas it was at one time a mainstay on the, the sort of Christmas theatrical scene. But
Doesn't fly costs really, essentially,
yeah, the health and safety.
yeah.
Yes.
So, about doing one-man shows, how do you get your brain around where you're going and how the words all fit together? How do you learn that?
It's a good question. I mean, Oscar, if anyone saw Oscar, in a way that was easier. Now, it was longer, but I was the narrator, so I was able to sort of use more of Ross, and sort of, come in and out of different characters and stuff. This, I found slightly harder because I had to be Barry, or try to be Barry, all the way through. And he was quite a shy man. So playing quite a shy man, standing up in front of a lot of people, that's another complicated thing to sort of get your head around. But in terms of navigating your way through it, I suppose when I got the script out, I sort of just broke it down into sections. So I thought, right, that page there to page 3, that's all about the mother and David. So that's that section. That section there and there, that's when I'm at school, and then I move on to Nottingham, and I just literally cut it down into sections and then sort of learnt it like that. But then trying to knit them all together was amusing, because quite often my notes from Mitch would be the link, Ross. The link between that section and that section. I was thinking, why can't I remember the link? And then he'd say something funny like, well, the last word you said there was life, and then you're going to go on to say wife. Life, wife, and there's your link, and off you go. But I have to say, I've said this before, but I will think very, very hard if I ever do another one-man show again. It is so exhausting. It really is. I mean, it's wonderful, but it's crazy, for sort of just a couple of shows today. I mean, if we were to revive it and take it on tour, yeah, good, but it's something I've always wanted to do. And I think the reason why I've done 2 is partly because we wanted to reunite the same creative team that we had for Oscar that was, very successful, that was. But this was a very different sort of piece, but nevertheless, worthwhile pursuing and doing, so I hope. So, yeah.
Do you find you give different types of performances?
Yes. I mean, Lee is one of my closest friends. I've got my 2 closest friends here tonight, Lee and Mitch. And they both know that as an actor, I do tend to sort of change things a lot as I go along. But sometimes I trip myself up in the process, You can sort of be too creative by saying a line in a different way than you did before. But Nick Young, who we've worked for a lot, and some of you may or may not know, was the last proper artistic director here, when this was still a repertory theatre in the 80s. always talks about actors, get off your tram lines. Stop delivering it the same way. So that's why we keep, sort of experimenting. But it can be dodgy sometimes when you're on your own. I mean, I had a slight dry in the second half tonight. Yeah, the first half, was fine, probably faultless, but there was a dry in the second half because I'd done something differently. But there you go, you've got to take risks, because if you don't, then it just, it becomes dull. So, yeah, but don't panic.
How did you perfect the accent? Was that part of the challenge?
It was actually. I was saying to Jill earlier, I'm not normally very good at accents, so I had to work hard on it. I tell you what I did watch, because what this show is based on is Andrew Birkin's book, The Lost Boys. And some of you may remember the series in 1978, the TV series that was based on that book that starred Ian Holm as Barry, The Lost Boys. It was in 3 parts, I think an hour each. I watched that and watched Ian Holm and listened very hard. And then I thought, I wish I could shrink myself for the show because I'm a bit too tall for Barry. But yeah, that was really, I actually watched it twice because I thought Ian Holm's performance was fantastic. And there's another interesting connection because Ian Holmes started his, professional career here in the old rep days, So it's all kind of nicely connected, It all felt meant.
Talk about something, and there was 15 sort of side tracks around it.
All the different people you had to get to. Yeah, absolutely.
I was right about that when I saw the wingback chair that Matt, our production manager, had acquired, because I thought, oh no, I might get too comfortable in that. Whereas in Oscar, I had this really hard chair, so it was very difficult to get comfortable all the time, so I was sort of doing this. Light another cigarette. Well, I think, what on earth is the next line? But yeah, it did feel a bit like that at times.
Okay, well, I just want to say thank you all very, very much, and most importantly, thank you both so much for a really enjoyable evening's entertainment. Bravo.